All right, you guys, I am recording a freestyle podcast for you without any notes because today, this podcast is my first episode in a new space. Why a new space? The studio I was using was absolutely incredible. I loved the studio that I had been in. However, if you are a creative, you know exactly what I'm talking about when you are inspired and you are limited to when you can utilize a space, that creativity and that role that you are on quickly fades. So there were moments where I was trying to record where I was like, I need to get this out, but I was limited because it wasn't my own space, where here in this studio, in this space, I can record whenever I want. I'm thinking about getting a little bit of art up here. We don't know exactly how this is going to end up looking, so you're going to see some ever-changing environments, but we are here for it. And today I've decided that I want to talk to you a little bit about what it's like to choose you. Welcome to the Stayin' Wild and Well podcast. My name is Rin, and my greatest accomplishment is being alive. Here we talk about life's journey, the ups, the downs, the in-betweens, all things mental health, body, mind, and spirit. We share wild stories and keeping your wild alive while staying well. Choosing you can be so freaking painful. In fact, choosing you is painful. Let's just clear the air. If you are not a avid pro at choosing you, and I am not an avid pro at choosing me, I will tell you that it's a constant learning progress. It's a constant I don't know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say. I'm constantly learning. There's constantly progress happening towards choosing me. And it can be challenging. It can be emotional. It can make me question myself. So I'm here to share that with you in case you're not somebody who's been doing this for a really long time and you're trying to lean into more of that energy, more of that choosing you, more of that power, because with that means that there's self-love. With that means that you are so focused on your own worthiness. And I want to be clear. In today's world, in the spiritual realm, in the self-development realm, there's a lot of talk about choosing you, self-love, loving you, and I'm all about the self-love, baby, because it's so important. But also, there can be some toxicity towards that because we live in a culture where it's me now. And for anyone who struggles with choosing yourself, you also know that on an innate level, on a deeper level, it's much more challenging. All eyes on me, social media. We can't forget that we have to be in a place of an act of love and service, and that there's balance that comes with everything. But that's another conversation. So why don't we jump right in to the challenges around choosing you? When you make the decision to finally lean into choosing you, you are going to question yourself right off the bat. So I want you to know that if that's something that you're experiencing, it's super normal. It is super normal because we have been praised most of our lives for showing up and going above and beyond for people in our lives. We get praised anytime we self-sacrifice and we choose to do something for someone else. And not only do we get praised, but we also get like this dopamine hit, because if somebody's like, thank you so much, this felt so good, I'm so appreciative of it, you're going to be like, yeah, it feels super good. In addition to that, and there's no problem with that, by the way, like I want you to feel good if you are self-sacrificing to a healthy degree. You should, because you did something good for someone. But the difference is that when you are giving to receive? Is there a reason behind why you're doing that? So let me talk about myself. I always like to give a little bit of information about me and some of my experience because I tend to overshare. And that's the point. If I overshare and you can learn something from my experiences, then I know that I have done my job. I naturally love to give. I am a giver and I love to make people happy. But growing up, a lot of the giving that I did was contingent on me being loved. If I gave, then I would be loved. If I gave, that would mean that I was accepted. I was worthy of that person's love. If I gave, they loved me and I felt good. You need to be able to choose you without anybody outside of you. You need to be able to love you and know that you're worthy without anything outside of you, without having to give, 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 give. So, part of this choosing of self is being able to know that when you select you, when you choose you, when you're in compromise, whether to sacrifice or choose yourself, and you choose yourself, you are still worthy. You are worthy as a person. You're worthy of love. Nothing about you diminishes because you've chosen yourself. So there is a whole belief system around choosing you. But what I want to point out is that how painful it is. Because there comes a point in your life, there came a point in my life where I started to evaluate my life as a whole. And it's no surprise, as I've moved through a separation and gone through all kinds of change, that I would evaluate different facets of my life. And I hope that if you're watching this and you're not moving through a separation or any worldly changing moments within your life, that you can still take inventory and you can still step back and take a look at your life and be like, does this fit? How am I showing up in the world? Are the friendships that I'm hanging out with and the people I'm surrounding myself with match my energy? Am I giving and taking, or is it an energy share? Is it a give? Is it a one-way street? Is the relationship I'm in allowing me to self-actualize and be the best version of myself? The workplace that I work in, does it align with my values? How do you show up in this world for you? And showing up and choosing to show up in the world for you is big power, big energy. And that is the greatest love, the greatest sense of worthiness that you will ever have. But it is going to come with pain, because when you start to ask yourself these questions, when you start to evaluate these things in your life, it forces you to face the hard truth. And when we don't want to face the hard truth, we deny it. And when we deny it, we live in our world of comfort. And of course we do, because it's easy. And I don't mean that in a condescending way. It feels easy to digest. We don't have the anxiety of having to face our truth, so we're just going to continue doing what we do without thinking about it, without contemplating it. But in the long run, you will find that who you are is starting to get smaller. There's more anxiety. There's a lack of fulfillment. There's something inside of you. You might be utilizing coping mechanisms. If you are constantly in a space of not choosing you, resentment might start to show up. There are layers here, and there will be pieces of your life that start to pop up that show you that you are not in alignment with yourself and that you're actually self-abandoning. So choosing me, you guys, this was super hard because I had to face things I didn't want to face. I had to face that some of my friendships were not energy shared friendships, that I would leave constantly feeling drained, or they would show up only when they needed things and never just to hang out. I was the friend that they went to for advice when they wanted to feel better, but I wasn't the friend that they called up to want to do something fun and to want to hang out and to want to adventure. That isn't an energy share relationship. That relationship is taking, and in turn draining. And that's hard to face and accept, because if you are a giver and you're constantly showing up in friendships, relationships, you definitely love these people so much. So to see it for what it is can be really hard. Looking at some of my friendships and realizing, oh my gosh, this friendship is based on our past. This friend and me, like how I show up with this person, we don't actually know each other anymore. Our entire dynamic is based on our past and who we used to be. And if I'm choosing me, I'm also recognizing that we're just not the same people anymore. They might not be your vibe, which also is nothing wrong. I don't mean like they're not my vibe, I'm not going to hang out with them. That's not what I mean. On an energetic frequency level, do you have commonalities? Are you moving towards the same things? It's like if your friend still likes to party, but you like to be at home and read a book or sit around a fire. It's different frequency, it's different energy. You're on a different plane. Choosing me as my marriage ended was really hard too, because I recognized, and gosh, like I don't even like to say this out loud and it's so painful, but I recognized that I felt better when I wasn't around my husband. And that was hard because I was constantly in a place of seeking my worthiness through him, first of all, based on the dynamics that we had created within the relationship, but also it was give, or I would be constantly reaching. I felt more confident when I wasn't around him. I felt more worthy when I wasn't around him. I felt more loved when I wasn't around him. I felt more beautiful when I wasn't around him. And that's nothing against him. And it's not specific to anything that he specifically did, because remember, everything is a reflection and we are super responsible for how we show up in relationship. But choosing me also meant that I had to recognize, and like, I'm going to tell you right now, my brain is like, don't say anything negative. I'm going to just keep it real and like quiet that voice down. Voice, egoic voice. You just calm down for a second. You know what I'm talking about. That voice in your head that starts to get insecure while you're talking. That's happening right now. And I think I might start sharing more of that so you can recognize, like, we all have that, and it's being able to see it and notice it. I'm just going to say it for how it is. There'd been times where I'd ask my partner, I'd be like, even when we separated, do you think I look pretty? Do you like this dress? Do you think it looks good? No, I'm not answering that. Oh, okay. And then I feel a little bit insecure and I don't feel worthy. And I'm like, well, that wasn't nice. I'm constantly building him up. Why isn't he building me up? Well, first of all, it's not his job to build you up, Sabrina. Rin's like, I know. Spirit's like, I know. If you've watched my other episodes, you know what I'm saying when I talk about Sabrina and Rin, Sabrina being my egoic self and Rin being my spirit, and knowing that truth. I would make excuses when my partner would show up in a certain way. I would make excuses for anybody I loved when they'd show up in a certain way. And I think that's a part of the empath within me, is seeing and recognizing why people show up the way they do in their childhood and, all the layers. But choosing you also means like, that wasn't okay. That wasn't okay. And I'm not going to accept that in my life. And that means I'm going to have to start to separate myself from this person. And that is so painful, because when you love them and you want them in your life, being able to face the reality hurts. So choosing you doesn't necessarily mean this power energy of like, I choose me and it's all a walk in the park. It means that you have to face some sort of level of darkness and acceptance and move through the layers of grief when choosing you, because it's not something easy to do. I'll be super open. Moving through my separation, I kept saying to my partner, because we'd been in each other's lives for so long, I want to keep you in my life. Let's stay friends. Let's stay friends. Let's stay friends. His experience, he didn't know if he could. His experience is his experience, and I can't change the way he emotionally shows up. If I emotionally can show up in a space where I want to maintain a friendship, that's on me. I have to accept if he can't. And I couldn't accept the fact that he wouldn't just say, yes, we're going to stay friends. Yes, we're going to stay in each other's lives. And so I kept reaching and pulling and seeking this worthiness. And again, that's not choosing me. That is desperation. That is desperation. You should not be begging to remain in somebody's life. You should not be begging to remain in somebody's life. So choosing you is painful, is what I'm trying to say. If you are on a journey of self-love, if you are on a journey of worthiness, if you are on a journey of trying to choose yourself, it is not going to be a walk in the park. People are going to recognize that you are changing and that you are shifting. Choosing you also means using that famous word, no. And then there could be an offshoot of balance, because I'll tell you, once you start saying no, That is empowering, because once you start saying no, you're like, ooh, this kind of feels good. I could say no more often. And then I always see this with my clients, and I've seen it with myself. You go on one other end of the spectrum where you're like, no, I'm actually going to stay in tonight. I'm tired. No, I actually don't feel like going out to dinner tonight, or I don't actually like that restaurant. Can we go somewhere else? No, like, it's so empowering. And then people around you are like, what's wrong with you? You're different. You've changed. And of course you've changed. We want you to change. We want you to change. Hear me now, you guys. You want to change. I do not want to be who I was when I was 17, when I was 20, when I was 30. I don't want to be that person when I am 60. I don't want to be who I was when I was in my 40s. Evolution, growth, and change is so important. But anyways, back to choosing you and having those boundaries and saying no to things that you don't want to do. We will go on the other end of the spectrum. So you do have to weigh and measure and know when to give and take, because I don't want you to get the wrong idea from this video and think that I'm saying never go above and beyond for anybody, never sacrifice your time. No, again, like I said in the beginning, we are in a culture where it's me, 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 me. That is not what I am suggesting or saying. What I am suggesting and saying is that there is great empowerment when it comes to choosing you. There is challenges that come with choosing you. Challenges from a space of heartache, challenges from a space of grief, challenges from a space of acceptance, challenges when it also comes to what you were taught and raised as, or what society says, and the way you are praised for the self-sacrifice, especially in the workforce. If you work for somebody, you know that if you're going above and beyond and you're working crazy hours, you're praised for the lack of sleep you have because you stayed up all night to complete that project that needed to be done and submitted. If you're a student, same thing, project submitted, all the same thing applies. Choosing you means honoring your body, honoring your mind, honoring this vessel that has come into earth, sleeping at a good time so that when you wake up in the morning, you feel good, nourishing your body with food that makes you feel energized and alive, surrounding yourself with people that their energy inspires you and you feel respected and loved, not begging to have someone remain in your life, not constantly making excuses for people. Often we make excuses for people because we can't actually accept that the way they've showed up in our lives. You know, it took me a really long time to be able to say that's not okay. I see you, but that wasn't okay, and I'm choosing me, and I'm choosing healing, and I'm choosing acceptance. And you don't have to apologize for me to feel better. You don't have to apologize for me to feel like I'm worthy. You don't have to explain for me to feel like I was loved. I am choosing me, and that means that I'm going to distance myself. That means I'm going to stay in tonight. That means I'm going to bed early. That means I'm choosing the salad and not the burger. That means I'm not drinking the alcohol when everybody's drinking and partying and judging me for not drinking because, drinking is the cool thing to do. Although I will say in today's world now, it's become so different. There's less and less people drinking alcohol, and there's nothing wrong if you drink alcohol. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say that there's always someone to say something about what you're eating, what you're doing, what you're drinking, how you're showing up in the world. And choosing you means you are not susceptible to everything that everybody is saying around you, that you can stand in your power with the choices that you make, and know that when you're choosing you, no matter what that looks like, you are so worthy of love, regardless of saying no to something or saying yes. You are so worthy of just being alive because you are you. Choosing you is going to be one of the most challenging things that you could ever possibly do. Because like I said, it is facing the hard truth about circumstances, situations, events, people in your life. But choosing you is also one of the most empowering things that you could ever do. And if you continue to lean into choosing you, the love that you have for yourself will only continue to grow. And I can promise you, the greatest love that you will ever, ever, ever experience is the love that you create within yourself. So choose you?